war never changes. Hey everyone, Christina Talley, that trans geek girl, and welcome back to yet another episode. We're going to have lots of fun today, and we're going to talk about Vault-Tec. Yes, the nefarious company from Fallout that built all the vaults that most of the survivors of the wastelands now live in. Before we get into that, I got a couple announcements. I have a big Q&A live Facebook thing going on Saturday at 8 p.m. Eastern. So definitely join in on that. You can find that at Christina Talley or at That Trans Geek Girl. So please join in for that. Be answering any geek questions, questions of that sort, technical questions, show questions. I'm just keeping away from personal stuff. Other than that, we've got some announcements that's going to be going on, and possibly a chance. And we'll have a drawing for a chance to appear on this show right here. So it's very exciting and very cool. So definitely check it out and see if you get a chance to join the show. So today we're talking about Vault-Tec, the nefarious company that disguised itself as a company building vaults to save humankind in the case of total atomic annihilation. However, we all know these characters. We've seen them several times. The Vault-Tec salesperson shows up in 4. Vault-Tec calling. However, they all had these social experiments, biological experiments. There was something going on in almost every single vault. And this is something we're going to talk about. These vaults were huge underground expanses, to say the least. They housed 1,000 people per vault. But we're going to get into this now.
And to help us through all this stuff, I asked for Vault-Tec's brightest and smartest. However, they sent us Chris Stolle.
Vault-Tec calling.
He is, we know him from Breaking the Fourth Wall, It Had to Be Said, Press A Gaming. He also hosts a radio show on Radiocast FM called, why did my brain just, I just had a brain fart. Raise the Underground.
When it decides to work.
We're not getting into that. Anyway, so today we are here. I've brought Chris here to talk about Vault-Tec vaults, as I said previously. And what we're going to do is going to talk about each vault, and then at the end, after we go through all the main vaults, not the ones that were deleted or anything else, we're going to talk about them, and then we're going to talk about which one is the most screwed up experiment at the end. So this should be kind of interesting.
Earth Vault.
What vault?
Otherwise, Earth Vault, the one that's in the United States right now. This social experiment needs to end. Just kill it. Kill it all.
So the first vault we're going to talk about is the Los Angeles Vault.
Ah, yes. The very first vault.
Yeah.
Or so the paper tells me.
The paper. It is the very first vault. It was used for demonstration purposes. Although fully functional, it was not part of any experiment, and thus its inhabitants survived the Great War unscathed. So in 2155, it was taken over as a Unity's headquarters by the Master, and in 2162, it was destroyed by a nuclear explosion. You want to talk about irony? There's irony.
Well, considering the fact that it's also supposed to protect you from the radiation, besides to survive a nuclear explosion, it's supposed to protect you from the radiation which would cause mutation, and it was taken over by a radiated mutation.
This is true.
So, I mean, there's double irony in that.
Well, we all know that Interplay, two Bethesda, all... Well, Bethesda... I can't even say their name today. I'm sorry, guys. I'm sick, like I said earlier, so...
Bethesda.
Yes, thank you.
You're welcome.
They have a sick sense of humor when it comes to this game, and we love it because of it, so... The next vault we'll move on to is Vault 3.
Yes, located in Las Vegas, Nevada.
Yes, this was found in Fallout New Vegas. This was a control vault that stayed closed due to the wishes of its inhabitants. Sometime in the 23rd century, an unexpected water leak forced the vault dwellers to open in hopes of trading with the outside. A couple of weeks after opening the vaults, the residents were all massacred by the fiends.
Should have stayed inside.
Just shows you sure you can't trust anybody.
That's it.
I mean, all right. So Vault 8.
Well, before we move on, Vault 3. The one cute thing about Vault 3 was it was one of the few vaults that had no social experiment to it.
This is true.
It was literally it operated the way it was advertised, was to protect its inhabitants from a nuclear holocaust, and then eventually they could leave the vault. It was the inhabitants' decision to stay till the 23rd century and then decide, well, we better open the door and find somebody. And
that's only because they had a water leak and they ran out of water, and we all know we need water to drink and to live.
Right. So anyway, sorry, go ahead.
No, you're fine. So we're moving on to Vault 8. Vault 8, now we're starting to get some of the more fun ones now. So Vault 8 was a control vault that was intended to open and recolonize the surface after only 10 years. Upon opening early after receiving the all-clear signal in 2079, the residents established Vault City with the help of their Geek. This is found in Fallout 2, for those that I don't remember that one, yes, because it's in Fallout 2, which is one of the Interplay games.
Right. And also for people who need to know, Geek, which if you don't know what a Geek is, I'm surprised you're even watching this video. For the people that don't know, Garden of Eden Creation Kit. Essentially, this is meant to recolonize, re-terraform the planet. So that's what they used to create Vault City, which was basically, they opened up their vault and settled right there.
Which I don't blame them for that, to be honest.
Right. So
next vault. You ready for the next vault?
Absolutely.
Let's talk about Vault 11.
We're located in the Mojave Wasteland, Las Vegas.
Very good. Designed to test the obedience to authority and the ethics of a large group of people subjected to extraordinary circumstances. The Vault dwellers were informed of a single person that must sacrifice their life each year for the Vault. Otherwise, the master computer would shut down all life support. And in reality, should the dwellers refuse, the vault would open. So they thought, that's screwed up because they thought that if they didn't do this, that they were all going to die. In reality, the vault would just open.
Exactly. That would have been their early out. They all would have been fine and safe. But they were under the impression that the vault would kill them or expose them to radiation, which I guess, depending on when the experiment really began, I guess could have also been a terrible thing. Like, you figure the first year after the bombs fell, you can't go outside. So if nobody killed anybody, that vault would have opened and would have flooded the whole entire vault with radiation. Everybody would have become ghouls at minimum to dead.
Pretty much. I believe this was the one, if I remember correctly, this is the vault where they had the elections every year to become overseer, and the overseer was one who was sacrificed.
Yeah.
If I remember correctly.
Yep.
And that was the one, and remember, when you go in there and you find that terminal and you find out that the last person who was elected turned the tables and changed the rule, kind of screwing everyone in that deal.
Mm-hmm.
Which was kind of a moment of brilliance.
Moment of self-preservation that turned out to be brilliant.
Exactly. So next one, we'll move on to Vault 12. Why not?
Bakersfield, California. Like they really needed a vault there.
AKA Necropolis.
Yes.
Yeah. This is from the first Fallout game. This was, in order to study the effects of radiation on selected population, the vault door was designed to not close properly. It resulted in Necropolis and a large population of ghouls,
Which basically goes into what I was just saying about the last vault if the door were to open too early. Essentially, the radiation leaked in. It mutated the people within the vault. They turned into ghouls, which are basically like rotting zombies.
And a lot of them have their faculties about them until they become feral. in case you didn't know. But yet again, if you don't know about ghouls, then you obviously never played Fallout. So,
Then we talk about the most famous of the vaults.
Vault 13.
That's right. This is the vault that started it all for many gamers.
And you find this in Fallout, Fallout 2, Fallout Brotherhood of Steel, and in New Vegas.
But in Brotherhood of Steel and New Vegas, it's only mentioned. It's not actually seen.
This is true, but it's still a vault. This vault has been mentioned in more games than any other vault. That's what I'm getting at. And this was intended to stay closed for about 200 years as a study of prolonged isolation or until the vault residents were needed by the Enclave. The good old Enclave.
For those who don't know, the Enclave was basically the reiteration of the American government.
Which, the funny part is, like, the Enclave, like, we saw them a lot in Fallout, like, 1 through 3. Before, I don't think there was any really... The Enclave really didn't play a part in it.
Well, I think because in 3, remember, they all kind of follow the same storyline. I think in 3, the Enclave was pretty much eradicated, depending on how you played it. If you played with the Brotherhood of Steel, campaign, I believe you were pretty much eradicated when you killed, oh my God, President.
That's right, you blow up the mountain, Mount. It's been a little bit for me, I apologize.
Same here, I'm trying to remember the guy's name, the president's name, although, which you find out he wasn't even a real person, he was a computer program. But President Adams. President Adams. That was his name. And you wipe out the Enclave. Like, I heard rumor, like in Fallout 4, that the Enclave was kind of like thought to still be around, but was basically disbanded.
The one thing also, we'll get into this after we're done through the vault list, because we got some good topics here to talk about. The other one is how much of a change the Brotherhood made from 3 to 4.
I don't think there was much of a change, but yeah, we'll get into that.
Yeah. So, next, Vault 13, the whole story baseline of the first story is based off of Vault 13, which is your character emerges out of the vault to find a water chip. So
2161.
Yep. Next vault is Vault 15, which is another one that's popped up in Fallout and Fallout 2.
From Southern California.
Very good. It was intended to stay closed for 50 years and include people of a radically diverse ideologies. It was the birthplace of 3 raider groups: the Cons, the Jackals, and the Vipers, and Shady Sands, which would become the new California Republic.
So technically, you got 4 groups out of it, 3 of which became raiders, 1 of which became a new government system.
Exactly, and we all know New California from New Vegas.
Yep. Which when I played Vegas, all the times I played Vegas, I never sided with Caesar's Legion. I refuse to call him Kaiser. It doesn't feel right to me. But I've always sided with the New California Republic, and yet at the same time, I can't decide if they're the good guys or not. I really can't. If you're not familiar with the story, it's hard to explain.
Yeah.
Those that are familiar with the story, you know what I mean. Yeah. It's kind of like picking the best of a bad situation when you really look at that game.
Yeah, it's kind of like for those who've played or maybe already played like Fallout 4. If you've played the DLCs, you played the Nuka World DLC. It's kind of like that. Like, you're kind of forced more into picking a raider to get the full experience of the Nuka World DLC. You kind of have to side with a raider group. And so it's kind of like that. Like, you don't want to because you've been doing good the entire time, and now all of a sudden you got to be a raider.
Oh, so, we could definitely talk about that. I can't tell you the first time I went through Nuka World and I sided with the raiders, and I was so pissed when they had me raiding my own settlements. Because I had beaten the main game with the Minutemen.
Yeah.
It was that playthrough. So the settlements were mine. I'm great with the Minutemen, and then I'm raiding my own settlements, killing my own people and enslaving my own people. Since then, anytime I play Nuka World, I always go through the main stuff just to finish, the perk for the raider guy that's your companion. I forget who he is. And finish the main story of it, of like freeing up Nuka World and stuff like that, and combining all the raider groups. Then I kill everybody, and I free all the slaves.
Yeah.
Because fuck you, Nuka World. I'm not destroying my own settlements.
Yeah,
Oh.
that was a really, but we'll get into that afterwards.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, you're fine. It's true. It's Vault 17.
Vault 17.
Rated by the Unity in 2155. This is also in New Vegas. So this one is in New. Yes.
It's mentioned in Vegas, but it's still never physically seen.
Yeah,
because again, remember the Unity took place in California, even though like it's Vault 17's unknown where it was. The Unity was the Los Angeles Vault.
Exactly. So, however, the inhabitants were taken prisoner and turned into super mutants. Not a very good, honestly, not a very good ending for those guys, unfortunately.
Well, it really depends. I mean, you look at Fallout 4 and super mutants like Virgil.
That's because he was working on that cure.
Right, but I mean, he was able to keep his faculties about him. You do on rare occasion, you do get to not be so much of a blundering idiot as a super mutant, as rare as it is. Because you also had Fox in Fallout 3. And, oh my God, what was the Nightkin girl in New Vegas?
Oh, New
Vegas.
Oh my God. Now I gotta think.
The one who thought she was a grandmother.
Yeah. I can't remember. Oh,
Leave a comment down below. If you remember it, put the comment down below. But I mean, more often than not, being a super mutant is basically a fate worse than death. Actually, that's another debate we could have. Which would be worse, becoming a super mutant or becoming a feral ghoul?
Yep, this is another debate. So, actually, you know what we're going to do on that one? You guys are going to write in the comments below. Tell us which ones you think is worse, and then we're going to discuss it on a later show.
Well, let's throw a third one in there. Then, feral ghoul, super mutant, or self-aware super mutant / self-aware ghoul. Is it worse to be mindless as a creature, whether it be one or the other? Or is it worse that you know you're a creature, but you still know you're you?
That's a good one, too. So let's hear what you guys have to say about this. Let's get some comments.
Polls. That's right. We're moving up in the world. We're taking polls.
All 5 watchers.
All 5. 3 of which are me.
Anyway, so we'll get back to seriousness now. So now we're going to talk about definitely one of the more screwed up ones. This is Vault 19. It's another New Vegas vault. They were segregated into 2 groups. You had the red group and the blue group. These groups lived in separate sections of the vault and were governed by 2 overseers. So this vault actually had 2 overseers. Subliminal messages were routinely sent over to each side, causing mistrust among the inhabitants. And eventually a civil war between the 2 groups ended up in a complete collapse of the vault. The vault residents may have been chosen due to pre-existing paranoia or other psychological impairments.
See, this is where Vault-Tec starts getting really dark. Some of the other things, I mean, like it was pretty bad, but like with the door that wouldn't close, or the murder your own residents, or the door will open type deal. But this is one where they were really, really showing their dark side, taking pre-existing paranoia or psychological impairments, putting them in a vault where they can't escape, and then screwing with them to seed more and more distrust. It's like the best way I can describe it is like lock a racist, 2 racists in a room of opposite race in a room together, and don't let them come out till one's dead. Is really what Vault-Tec pretty much did with Vault 19 right there.
Well, let's be honest here. There's a lot of blood on Vault-Tec's hands in general.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
I mean, Vault-Tec is a screwed up company. In fact, probably, I'm thinking in a couple months, we're actually going to go head to head. I'm going to pull many people as I can, and we're going to discuss all the different screwed up companies in video games and in fiction. We're going to put them head to head and try to figure out between all of them which one is the most screwed up company.
Spoiler alert, it's Vault-Tec.
It might not be Vault-Tec.
Although the other ones are pretty messed up.
Umbrella's up there, let's be honest. But let's get off topic. So that's something else you guys have to look forward to. That will be coming up.
So it's Weyland-Yutani, but yeah, we'll get into
Weyland-Yutani, you have...
OCP.
OCP, yeah, OCP is up there too, actually.
Consumer products, yep.
Vault-Tec, I mean, there's a lot of them, so that's something that will be coming up, so...
We'll get into that.
So next Vault. So you have anything to say about 19?
What was the corporation in Ghost in the Shell? You're the resident anime expert.
I do, but I can't remember off the top of my head right now. So
they were pretty screwed up too. Vault 19, I said what I needed to say on it. It's pretty screwed up to be putting people in that type of situation, and then make the bad situation worse by turning around. And really, that's what Vault-Tec does. As you see as we go through the rest of the list here, Vault-Tec takes a bad situation, which was the Great War, where only a couple million people are actually going to survive this war because they got pre-selected to be in these vaults to begin with. And then they use these vaults as social experiments of this magnitude. It's just, you're in for a wild ride if you don't know the stories. We're going to go through them. Let's continue on.
Yeah, let's continue on. So we'll move on to Vault 21. Vault 21 is another New Vegas vault. That was designed to study the evolution of society where all conflict was resolved through pure chance. It's kind of ironic, though, this one's in New Vegas, considering that was the more set to Las Vegas, so... i.e. gambling. Yeah. So the vault was taken over by Robert House after winning a game of blackjack where the wager was the entire vault. It was subsequently filled with concrete and converted into a novelty hotel run by Sarah Weintraub.
This one's not so bad. I mean, there may be some lore out there that you really didn't get to go into all too much. It is an explorable place in the game, which, like they said, most of it's filled in concrete, so you don't get to see a whole hell of a lot. You just get to see a couple rooms that she uses for you to rent, and like the dining hall, really. But there's got to be some lore out there, or even some fan fiction out there, getting more ideals of like some of the chances that were taken within that vault before Robert House took it over.
Oh, I'm very sure what their idea was versus what actually, just a little bit of knowledge we have about it from New Vegas. I'm sure they thought it would have ended up a lot more sinister than it really did. Just taking from Vault-Tec's prior... I mean, you think about it, everything has to be done by chance. It'll be kind of thing like, okay, well... you did this wrong. Let's see what happens. Let's roll these dice. You kill 3 people, roll a dice. Oh, guess what? You're okay. Because you just rolled a 21. I mean, it's like that.
All I'm thinking about is Sheldon from Big Bang Theory, that one episode where he was having all his life decisions decided by D&D dice roll.
That's awesome.
Well, I'll be back in a minute. I need to, after I sit here and contemplate not peeing myself.
All right, so let's talk about Vault 22, shall we?
Absolutely.
Yet again. Another New Vegas vault. Vault 22 is equipped with the latest in biological and agricultural technologies with the objective of developing plants that could be readily cultivated in the absence of natural light. So this was actually not a nefarious experiment. However, an experiment with a parasitic fungus turned the scientists, leading to the destruction of the vault. Survivors of the outbreak abandoned the vault and headed to Zion Valley, spreading the spores across the wastes. This is another really screwed up vault too. A lot of these vaults to go into and explore, if you haven't just taken your time to explore and find all these vaults, some of these are really messed up. Like this was one of the ones I remember that had plant people in there. It was just really screwed up.
Well, part of the fun of the vaults, and I'm going to say this because you and I have both done like playthroughs or started playthroughs of Fallout games for like Press A Gaming. And it would slow down a playthrough or a Let's Play series. But for yourself, when you're in there playing the game, one of the funs of Fallout, especially in places like a vault, is lore searching, going through and hitting terminal after terminal after terminal and seeing what went on in these vaults.
You know, I have a thing about collecting I try to find every vault suit I can.
Yeah, I do too.
So I have, like in Fallout 4, you have the mannequins now where you can put the, like, I have them all displayed. So all the vault suits I've collected over the game, I have one of each one. So I have like the 111, the 13, like everything is all
I do the
up.
exact same thing.
Did
yeah,
you find the 101?
Yeah. No. Where is 101?
I'll have to tell you later. That's going to be.
Yeah, tell me later.
Yeah, there's a 101 vault suit hiding in the game.
Now I got not. Fuck! I'm supposed to do I was supposed to do Skyrim tonight because I started a series of Skyrim, and I promised that I would do Skyrim tonight after we record Fourth Wall. Now I'm gonna want fuck Skyrim. I'm gonna want to play Fallout.
Now you're gonna have to go try to find this vault suit. It's kind of
I'm gonna go find.
It's hidden. So. So that
All right,
was 21. Oh no, we just did 22.
That was 22. Yeah. That was
so many
22.
vaults, it's hard to keep track of. So I apologize. Vault 27. That was our next vault. Deliberately overcrowded with a total of 2,000 people assigned to enter, double the total sustainable amount.
Picture yourself in a concert setting, for sake of argument. Like for us that were from the East Coast, particularly Philadelphia, picture the Electric Factory during a hot concert. Say Metallica, for argument's sake, is playing the Electric Factory. You know the place is packed. You're shoulder to shoulder, blah, 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 blah.
Actually, even better than that, something more people can notice. So, think of the movie Titanic. I'm saying this for a reason. After they were rescued and they were on the Carpathia, remember how packed that deck was with all the survivors?
Fair enough.
Double that times that by 2, and that's how this vault was.
Well, the comparison I was going to say is now picture that confined spacing for the next 80 days minimum, which I think most vaults were 80 days for the all clear.
Which we can obviously say that vault was a complete failure.
Oh, yeah. The smell alone would kill you.
I didn't even think about that. God damn it. That's freaking gross. Yeah, I mean, just think about it. Everything would overload. So you had too much. You wouldn't have... Water would become an issue. Food would become an issue. Basic human necessities would just completely become an issue. Waste recycling, yeah, wouldn't surprise me if everyone died of toxic shock, to be honest.
Toxic shock probably
as the water filtration system's probably crapped out from overuse. Starvation. If you were lucky, you probably starved to death. I mean,
I would imagine the oxygen filtration units probably failed first. They probably asphyxiated before anything else, because you're taking way more air.
That's true
than was originally intended.
That's true too. So yeah, I mean, it's still a horrible way to die if you think about it.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I mean, that one's definitely up there. So, Vault 29.
Vault 29. Mentioned in the original Fallout.
This is an original Fallout, yes. This was no one over the age of 15 when they were entered. So when people went for these vaults, these were all kids that were put into this vault. Parents were intentionally redirected to other vaults.
And an infamous character who has made appearances in Fallout 1, Fallout 2, and Fallout 3.
This is correct. Harold is rumored to come from this vault.
So, anybody familiar with the story of Harold? The guy who started mutating into a tree?
And you find him, it's like almost at the bottom of the map in 3, isn't it? Or it's top of the map? The top of the map.
Almost to the top of the map in the Oasis, where a bunch of people worship him as a god.
And he just wants to die.
And all he wants is to die.
He can't move. He rooted. He literally rooted at the Oasis.
Yeah.
So he was kind of just stuck.
He was really one of the most tragic stories in Fallout.
And there's a lot of them.
There is, but he really was, because he was just stuck.
I mean, the thing to remember about these vaults, I know it's a game, but every single one of these social experiments these people were put through, I mean, just imagine having to live through that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, some of these vaults are better off than others, but some of them would have been absolute hell. So, talking about absolute hell, let's talk about Vault 34.
Here we go.
The armory was deliberately provided with an overabundance of weapons and ammunition, in addition to not being provided with proper locking mechanism. The presence of weapons as well as the lack of population crowd control measures led to the failure. Like, wow.
Yeah, complete failure. Social unrest would do the vault in with several groups demanding access to weapons. A group that became the Boomers, which again took over Nellis Air Force Base.
I think it was Nellis, yes.
Yeah, Nellis Air Force Base, which, if you played the game, they're the ones that are shooting freaking rockets at you as you try to approach.
Yeah, because they have all the weapons from the vault still. I mean, apparently there was a ton of weapons in there.
But yet they never let you access to it. God damn them.
It's all right. Have minigun, we'll travel.
That's it. They left the vault several decades before its failure. Eventually, a riot damaged the vault's reactor, leading to flooding and radiation that caused ghoulification for many dwellers. By 2281, only a handful of the vault's residents remained.
And if they were ghouls, they were probably the original residents.
Oh, yeah.
The thing about ghouls that a lot of people don't realize is those ghouls that attack even the feral ones were alive in 2077.
They were at one time humans.
When the bombs dropped, they were alive. They were humans like you and me. And they mutated into these ghouls, and either they're still aware and they still are normal, like when you find the Vault-Tec guy.
Well, that's one we could have a topic of debate on too. Is what causes them to go feral? Is it the
cranial
degeneration
decay.
of their brain?
It's
cranial
cranial decay.
Well, why do some of them not go through it?
Because it depends on the exposure.
See, I always kind of attributed it to the fact that the ghouls, for people who don't know, are basically immortal. They can't die. That's why you have ghouls that were hit by the bombs in 2077 walking around 200 years later.
I just think that, honestly, with the ghouls, I think eventually they all turn feral. It's just a matter of time as that brain decays, because that was why a lot of people don't like the ghouls and don't want to deal with them, because
Right.
they there's always that possibility that they will go feral.
Fair enough.
So,
Fair enough. But again, here's one of them. Here's one of them situations. Let's have no population control. Let's have no law or authority within the place.
and just have a shit
And
ton of weapons.
Let's just put a bunch of weapons and none of it locked up.
I'll just see
And
what
see
happens.
what happens.
Like, most of us could figure out what was going to happen beforehand.
But of course, that's the biggest thing.
Probably look
The
like
people that
Compton in
went
there.
The people that went into these vaults had no idea these experiments were going on when they signed up. They didn't find out if they ever found out. They didn't find out until they were already trapped inside the vault.
Just like, for perfect example is, beginning of Fall. Those who play Fallout 4, which I hope everyone who's watching this video has played it. When you escape, when those sirens go off and you're doing that little run from your house to Vault 111, and you go downside and they tell you, yeah, we need to go put you in a decontaminator before we go further into the vault. Even at that point, when you're going into that pod, I mean, the first time when I played it, I didn't know it. It's like, this doesn't look like a decontaminator. I had a question about it, but then I realized, like, once a minute, I'm like, crap. Like, I mean, that's what they did to people. They did not let you know what was going on. The only person who knew was the overseer. That's why it's always fun finding the overseer's terminals and seeing what the hell really was going on.
Again, it may not be good for video run-throughs of the game on like YouTube and stuff like that, but when you're sitting at home yourself playing the game, it is so worth sitting there and reading all the terminals and all the lore you can, particularly in vaults.
Oh, definitely. I mean, like, even just like you find like the personal logs, you start being able to put together what happened on your own.
One of my personal favorites was actually when you were in Fallout 4 when you're going to get the actuator for Liberty Prime. That building, Mass Fusion building, I believe it was, is where the nuclear
Mass Fusion
reactor was. That you had to get the actuator from. If you read the terminals in there, 4 of the people that work there in their personal terminals were playing a D&D game.
That's
And it was just
right.
hilarious. It was just hilarious. You first you find the people that were playing characters, and they were saying what their character does, and blah blah blah. And after you read all three, you kind of get an idea of how they were playing. But right before you go into the reactor room, you find the DM's computer. It was just, and then you find out what shit he was putting them through, and it was just hilarious. Like they're supposed to be keeping an eye on this reactor. They're sitting there playing Dungeons and Dragons through email. It's cute little shit like that that really makes Fallout like really stand out.
Oh, there's more Easter eggs in Fallout. I mean, even just going to like the old buildings and just look at like the placements. Some of the placements of stuff is just it makes you question like what the hell is going on. Like, come on, we've all walked into a bathroom and found a freaking skeleton on the shitter still.
That's still not as funny as the teddy bear with the reading glasses and the fucking magazine.
Newspaper.
Yeah.
Oh, the two skeletons in the one bathroom stall. You know what they were doing.
Oh yeah. Well, again, they had teddy bears like that in a fridge one time.
However, at the same time, though, I will say there are times when you walk into certain areas and you can't help but to feel like, damn. Like when you see two skeletons in a bed holding each other, it's like this is how these people. It kind of it. That's the thing is, it's some of the placements is really funny. Like I think it was three when you go into the one diner and there's two people. You see the two skeletons. One was obviously dressed like a male. One was dressed like in a dress. And the females, and you can tell that's how they died. Like the guy was holding her,
Mm-hmm.
and it was just kind of like, damn.
You start creating your own backstories. You
And
really
then you
do.
just accidentally knock the skeleton over and feel horrible about it.
I don't. I pick them up and I throw them around.
You would, because you're a bastard.
But no, you're absolutely right. When you're going through the Fallout worlds and wastelands, whether it's 3, New Vegas, or 4, and this is where it stands out from the originals. I know there's a lot of purists that like the original, turn-based strategic combat as opposed to the first-person shooter that Bethesda has turned Fallout into. But the world is so immersive that you walk into a place and you literally start looking around at the bodies and how things have died or what had happened, and you really do start creating your own backstory for these people and what happened to them. What they were doing when the bombs fell. It's again one of the fun things about it. That's why I love this game. It's plain and simple. But Vault 36.
Vault 36 food extruders were designed to produce only a thin, watery gruel. Fucking gross.
Yeah, there's enough said on that.
It's just yeah. Imagine just eating this like watery sludge all day long, and with probably no fucking taste to it. It may have kept you alive, but it's like no, fuck that shit.
No.
You probably want to kill yourself after a month of eating that shit.
It's enough to say that that's just. Well, how do you feel when you're starving? That's how they felt.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Moving on. And probably most of them starved to death.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so next one, Vault 42. Another one of more weird experiments that Vault-Tec pulled, because no light bulbs of more than 40 watts were provided.
Just living in dimness.
Yeah, it's just imagine like always walking around like a twilight, like twilight or dawn. It's like
can't really read. I imagine it puts strain on the eyes that, even if they had computer terminals and you turn on the terminals, even the terminals in Fallout 4, which kind of look more like Commodore 64s, screen-wise.
Commodore PATs, actually.
Fair enough. Would be like just blinding to you when you're dealing with such low light for the rest of the time you're, awake.
Yeah, because your eyes would adapt to that lower light, so I could imagine a lot of migraines and a lot of eye strain, and probably a lot of people had probably blindness at some point from it.
Yeah.
So
43.
43, populated by 20 men, 10 women, and 1 panther.
I'm going to go out on a limb here and say the panther won.
Probably. And this was this actually made they actually had concept art for this in Fallout 3, which is interesting. So this vault they were kind of thinking about adding this into the vault, because I would love to know more about this vault, because this only shows up in the Fallout Bible. So
What, the 20 men, 10 women?
20 men, 10 women, and a panther.
No, you're looking at the wrong thing. That was in a comic adaptation, one man and a crate
That's
of
right.
puppets.
You're right.
The next vault was actually concepted for Fallout 3.
Yeah, which is Vault 53. So this will lead into that right now.
Yeah, perfect segue.
Which is, yes, most of the equipment was designed to break down every few months. While repairable, the breakdowns were intended to stress the inhabitants unduly. That's fucked up. That ain't even right. We all know how we get when something breaks. When our car breaks down, when a computer decides it's not going to work. We get frustrated. Now imagine if this shit did this shit every couple weeks. And this is shit you need to live. Like your air, like the freaking air filtration system craps out, water filtration system, waste filtration. Yeah, that had to be a freaking rolling nightmare. Yeah.
Gotta plunge your toilet every time you take a shit. Think about that. You get annoyed the first time you got to do it.
Yeah, and that's just not even right. Like, but yet again, Vault-Tec was known for this stuff. Believe it or not, Vault-Tec did do a lot of really screwed up things like that. Like, they really had no effect on anything, but it was almost like they wanted to sit there and watch it. Like, that's what it felt like.
Which is kind of ironic since Vault-Tec was eradicated in the bombing.
I I think they thought they were going to survive.
Well, here's the question. I mean, there's plenty more Fallout left to go. Plenty more games that can be made. You think we'll ever discover that Vault-Tec really is still around?
I think they are, because there was supposed to be a control vault, which was Vault Zero, which is supposed to be up the Cheyenne Mountains, and it was supposed to appear in Fallout Tactics, but it was scratched.
Because we haven't gotten to it yet, but Vault 88 kind of really makes me think that maybe there is still a fallback plan for Vault-Tec.
I think there is a Vault Zero, and I think eventually we will find it, but I don't think they've brought it into yet.
It kind of would screw up the game if you found it.
Not really.
Well,
it depends how it's written.
Yeah, depends on the writer.
All right, so let's push on here.
55.
55. All entertainment tapes were removed. Imagine being stuck in a confined space, having no movies, nothing to watch, no games, no music, no nothing.
This generation would fold.
Definitely.
No social media, no YouTube, no Instagram, no movies, no music, nothing.
Yeah, you just have the company of other people to deal with, and that would get boring very quick. So, however, I don't know which one is worse, 55 or 56, because 56, all entertainment tapes were removed except for those of one particularly bad comic actor.
Wow, they actually projected that it would fail before 55.
I don't blame them. I think it would too, because
I'm on the opposite effect. I almost see like Stockholm syndrome coming in. Like, when it's the only entertainment you got, you start looking past the fact that it's garbage.
This is true. Oh, come on. All I can think of right now is Tropic Thunder when they're watching the movie of VHS.
I think if it's the only thing left for the rest of my life to watch, I think even I could tolerate Twilight.
I wouldn't go that far.
I don't know. Let's hope I never get put in that situation to find out.
All right, now we were actually this is another one we can you guys can comment these next two vaults. You see which one would be more screwed up. Vault 68, of the 1,000 people who entered, only one was a woman, or Vault 69, where out of the 1,000 people who entered, only one was a man. See, I still have to go with Vault 68 because the population growth is a lot slower. Because you only have one woman who can carry a child. Meanwhile, that guy's going to be really tired on Vault 69. But
well, see, I was looking at it from a standpoint of society. Now, I'm probably going to be called a masculinist for this, but I would think that 69 would be worse for that one guy. Because besides the fact that he's the only provider of sperm to be able to population, like you said, it's also the fact that He's got to deal with 999 women,
Oh, shut up.
dealing with 999 women things and the way women think. And no matter what you think about in this world, men and women think differently.
Well, also
Now,
think about this too. Women, when they're together a lot, their periods have a habit of sinking.
exactly.
So now you have 999 women with literally having a period at the same time. I bet that guy didn't last a month.
Now that one woman, the big thing, I can play both sides of the coin because I think that one woman was suffering some major shit. One, she's the only provider of eggs for reproduction. Two, she's getting raped. Not everybody's going to be, waiting their turn or whatever the case may be as far as that's concerned. But the positive side about being the only woman in all male society is men will leave you the fuck alone and go do their thing. Women will want time with the one guy. So, I mean, there's good and bad to both sides. But really, comment below. What do you think? Would you want to be the one man or one woman with 999 of the opposite sex? Which one would be worse?
So let's move on to Vault 70, where all jumpsuit extruders failed after 6 months, which that is shitty.
Okay, maybe I'm being stupid here because I worked all day. Jumpsuit extruders. Are we talking about like the zippers won't open?
You ever notice the hookups on them?
Yeah.
You think they take their jumpsuits off all the time?
Well, they did after all of them failed.
True.
I'd be walking around naked. I could live with that one.
I'm sure. I know you. I know you would. So let's go to Vault 75.
Well, in fairness, I'm talking about survival time. I'm not just talking about the fact that I'm a nudist at home. You're lucky I'm fucking dressed on camera. I'm wearing pants, too.
I wouldn't let you on this fucking show if you were naked. So that's actually, the funny thing is, out of all these vaults we've been through, this is the first Fallout 4 one.
Yes, it is. Vault 75.
Which is a human genome improvement through a combination of selective breeding, hormonal treatment, genetic modification, and an accelerated generational cycle. Researchers and science staff were isolated from test subjects who were disposed of at 18 years of age unless recruited to replenish reserve stash due to a combination of excellent ratings.
In other words, if you weren't basically an A+ student growing up,
if you weren't a perfect specimen, you were trash.
Mm-hmm. This is literally popularity contest gone wrong. It's the best way I could describe it. I mean, I'm dumbing it down a lot because it did depend on your intelligence and your genetics and stuff of that nature. But if you weren't fucking Albert Einstein in a Ken doll's body, or Stephen Hawking's in who's the whatever hottest girl you could think of right now's body, you were out.
Mm-hmm.
Essentially, it's the best way to describe it.
And now we go into Vault 76.
Ah.
A control vault that was intended to open and recolonize the surface after 20 years. This is a Fallout 3 mention, and it's mentioned in 4 and Zeta.
Right, the Fallout 3 mention was in Mothership Zeta.
Mm-hmm.
Again, it would be interesting to find its lore, because it was mentioned, but it was never really given full detail.
And there's no location for it, as far as you know, except it's somewhere in the Capital Wasteland. Like, I don't think you can ever find it anywhere, so...
Exactly. So that one would definitely be interesting to get delve into and get more story from. Which, again, some of these that have like the mention onlys and they don't really have much of a description behind them may appear in future Fallout games. Like the rumored Fallout 5 that may or may not be in development right now. Let's say, for the sake of argument, the last rumor I heard is New York. Okay? Let's say Fallout takes place in New York. Vault 76 could be in New York. We don't know.
That's true. Even though they've pretty much described that it is in the Capital Wasteland, but it's one of those things that we will see.
Yeah, we'll know when we know.
And speaking about vaults, how about we go into one which is definitely one of the more stranger experiments from Vault-Tec, Vault 77, populated by one man and a crate of puppets.
This one is intended to make you go insane. Um,
And I guarantee that guy went insane, but
oh, I'm sure he went insane, or he got very, very wrong with these puppets. Um, I just wouldn't look at Jim Henson the same way again. I really wouldn't. But probably not the cruelest thing Vault-Tec has ever done. I'm not gonna lie. At least for the first couple months of it, I would at least be kind of entertained before I went insane. Stupid as it sounds.
I mean, it's kind of that's kind of a messed up project, though. I mean, we're talking about messed up. Let's go back to Fallout 4 and talk about Vault 81.
Ah, yes, 81.
81 was dedicated to researching disease and antibodies, with an emphasis on potential mutations and heavy radiation. The Vault's residents were isolated from the sealed scientific section of the Vault and used as guinea pigs in the Stage 3 clinical trials of the science staff. The Vault was not to be evacuated unless a direct order from Vault-Tec, which you knew would never come because Vault-Tec went bye-bye too, as far as we know.
As far as we know.
And residents were considered expendable, and their incineration through pre-installed flame nozzles was at the discretion of the overseer.
This is where Vault-Tec really starts to show their sadistic side. Because they had the Vault basically cut in half, where they had their staff of scientists and everything else using all different types of experimentations. I forget what some of the experimentation. Again, this is where lore comes in a lot of handy. When you get into that other side of the Vault and you see what happened, just be careful of the mole rats. They will infect you. But you get curie, so it's all good. And a bobblehead, if I remember correctly.
Yes.
Just remember that. But there you go. I helped you out in your game a little bit. But it's just some of the fucked up shit. They were screwing with people's lives for experimentation. They were recording what they were doing to you.
Well, once
and
you signed
if it wound up killing you or making you sick, oh well, we'll just burn you alive.
Think about it this way: as soon as you became, as soon as you entered that vault, you were no longer a person. You no longer had a value other than more of like a lab rat, and that was it.
Yep.
Speaking about lab rats, Vault 87.
Oh, Vault 87. I remember this one.
This is a Fallout 3 vault that was a forced evolutionary virus research facility. I can speak today. That was also provided with a Geek. This vault was the source of the super mutants in the Capital Wasteland. This vault, I remember this vault. This vault was part of the main storyline, and it was probably one of the most fucked up vaults to walk into. I mean, it looked like a freaking slaughterhouse in there.
This is the one where you get Fox, right?
Yeah, you have to go in there after the Geek, and there's like guts and just it's really screwed up.
Yeah.
It's like nightmare. It's straight nightmare fuel. It really is.
But as far as like some of the deviousness of Vault-Tec, it is pretty straightforward. They created super mutants, which the forced evolutionary virus was originally intended to create super soldiers. Unfortunately, it created super mutants instead. Pretty straightforward. They were shooting for the moon and they hit Mars.
Mm-hmm.
And what was left was just mayhem.
Yeah, and like I said, that place is nightmare fuel. It's probably definitely one of the more scary vaults to go into, and you have to go into it because it is part of the storyline on 3.
Yeah, you need to Geek.
Mm-hmm. And let's talk about Vault 88. Vault 88 was actually added during one of the DLC for Fallout 4, which is the Vault-Tec workshop, and it was an unfinished vault that was designed to test a variety of prototype devices with the aim of rolling them out through the rest of the vaults. So, through the thing, like it's a whole mission line, which is kind of fun. Where you go down, you get to build your own vault. Something a lot of us wanted to do since probably the first Fallout.
Give or take, yeah.
Get to experiment on people by building like a Nuka-Cola machine that does mind control or whatever else you decide to do with the bike. the powering bike, and what was the other one? It was that
The
third.
subliminal optometrist.
That's
State.
right. Yeah. Thank you. So it's kind of a fun mission to play Vault-Tec for a minute and just screw with everyone else, even though it is kind of messed up.
It's kind of messed up, but quite honestly, when it comes to the vaults and the lore of Vault-Tec, this one was really kind of silly because especially because you're in charge of it, you get options when you build these testing machines, and you could choose to be the good guy or girl and have it improve the character, the people, as opposed to fuck them up.
And you have that one redneck kind of goofy guy who does all the experiments.
Mm-hmm. I didn't mean to break your contraption.
Yeah. So let's move on. Let's go back to Fallout 3 and talk about Vault 92.
Vault 92.
Populated largely by renowned musicians, the Vault was a testbed for a white noise-based system for implanting combat-oriented post-hypnotic suggestion.
Again, this is one. I think it was more of a side quest in Fallout 3, but I believe you had to go in here and explore it to find the violin for the one lady that had the radio station.
Yes.
The Stradivarius violin.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't mandatory. I don't think it was main story, but it was definitely one of those places that had really interesting lore in it. The white noise would be kind of annoying, but at the same time, not necessarily the worst Vault-Tec has done.
No, but even though the subliminal programming is kind of screwed up.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, what is more screwed up is Vault 95.
95 was fucked, yeah.
95 was filled with drug abuse victims. It was used by Vault-Tec for monitoring the effects of drug abuse in isolated settings. So, in other words, they took people who were drug addicts, threw them in a vault, and gave them drugs.
Well, here's the thing. If memory of 95 remains, because again, you read the lore, you get more of the detail behind it. If I remember correctly, Vault 95 is where you got to take not Piper, Kate. You got to take Kate to get her off of Kent, off of Psycho. Because if I remember correctly, Vault 95 has the machine that actually, cures you of addiction.
Mm-hmm.
And while you go through there, you find out more of the lore. The whole entire intention of Vault 95, it was filled with drug abuse victims, but when they first closed the vault, they made all the addicts go clean. They literally forced everybody to give up drugs. And then after a certain point, when people were living normal, productive lives within the vault, that's when they started leaking drugs back into the system. Leaving them for people to find, opening up little hatchways that were locked before that had drugs in them. And it just started chaos all over again. That's the sadisticness of Vault-Tec.
Mm-hmm. Oh, we're going to get you clean and we're going to get you addicted again. It'll be
exactly.
Now we're going to talk about another one of the more famous vaults. This is the starter vault for Fallout 3. This is Vault 101.
Yes.
Vault 101 was to test the role of the omnipotent overseer in the community remaining in indefinite isolation from the outside world, and study the reactions of the residents should the isolation be broken. The thing is about this vault was never meant to open again. Even in the beginning, the saying was you're born in the vault and you die in the vault.
That's right.
And the whole point of it was however, the vault was open several times, as you learn through the game. When you escape, when your dad escapes, when you actually are brought into the vault, because you are not born in the vault. You find out. This is spoilers, but if I have to put up a spoiler thing for Fallout 3, y'all shouldn't be watching this damn video. But
right.
And also you find out about earlier missions where people left the vault and went to Nuketown, wasn't it?
No, not Nuketown. Megaton.
Megaton, yeah, thank you. It's been a while since I played Fallout 3, and you actually can even look up, like, when you're escaping, you get to the Overseer's Terminal, you actually find reports from these people, about the stuff, and it's kind of neat reading that one, especially because it's written as somebody who's never seen this stuff before, had no prior knowledge to what a rad roach is, or a rad scorpion. So it's kind of interesting to read that.
It really was, and it put a lot of depth into your character, which in this game is called is called the Lone Wanderer. You leave out to find your father. Plus, they were going to kill you because your father escaped, so you had to leave regardless. You're immersed into the capital wasteland, and really, from a role player's perspective, you're a babe out in the woods. You have no idea of what this world is beyond the vault.
You've never seen anything. You don't know anything of it outside what they taught you in the vault.
Mm-hmm.
So it's an interesting. And actually, the fun part about 101 is there's a mission later on in 3 where you go back.
And your experience is different depending on how you left the vault.
Exactly.
Certain things, again, it shouldn't be spoiler, but I'm gonna leave it vague for people who may not have played it yet and want to play it. But depending on the things you do when you leave the vault will depend the reception you get when you come back.
Mm-hmm. The nice things 3, I think, was the first where they started messing with the whole decisions affecting the rest of the game, which is something we've seen in a few other games. Like Mass Effect is the biggest one off the top of my head, where
Dragon Age as
your
well.
choices change different decisions. Same thing in Fallout. Fallout does the same thing. Same thing, and they did it more in New Vegas and kind of reeled it back a little bit in 4, to a point. Like, because remember in 3 you actually had a whole, like, depending who you started killing, you would get an alignment. So it's neat how they keep messing with the different systems.
Well, four was very more linear, but a lot of the complaint about it, like you said, like with 3 in New Vegas, if you killed people, some groups would like it, some people would hate it. In Fallout 4, you could remain friends almost up until the point of no return in the main story with pretty much all 4 of the factions that were involved in the story. If you play it the right way, you could keep the Railroad, the Brotherhood, the Minutemen, and the Institute all on your side.
Until you have to choose.
Until you're forced to choose.
Which is about where I'm at in my game, so. My 8th playthrough, I think. 9th playthrough.
Yeah, something like that. It's a fun game to play.
So let's move on to Vault 106. We're almost through this, so.
Yeah, there's only 122 known vaults. And I want to put that out there. Known vaults.
But every new game's going to bring new vaults. So if there's a Fallout 5 or a Fallout offshoot, we will come back and we will actually make a new list for the new game. So
absolutely.
So we're going to talk about 106. Psychoactive drugs were released into the air filtration system 10 days after the door was sealed. I remember this
vault.
Yeah, this was because this is when you started tripping balls as soon as you started walking through.
This one was a little freaky. It really was. Seeing some of the weird shit and getting kind of like the little flashback type deals out of it. That one was an interesting vault.
Yeah,
that one really was.
It really was. That's one you have to. That was a storyline vault too, wasn't it? If I remember correctly.
I believe it was, yeah.
Yeah, I think it was. I think it's something you had to get out of there, and I remember playing through it, and I'm not going to ruin that one, but that's a blast of a little mission to deal with to go through that vault. So
always worth checking out, whether it's story or not.
Now we're going to move on to Vault 108. My bad, Vault 108. It's another Fallout 3 vault. Vault 108. All initial positions were left. This is the most fucked up vault in my opinion. By the way.
Oh,
you want my vote?
You get no argument from me on this. This one, hands down, is the worst of the vaults.
Yeah, this one, all initial positions were left unfilled, allowing the terminally ill overseer, Brody Jones, who was estimated to expire within 40 months of the vault closing, to fill them according to the vault protocols, creating a unique experiment situation. The vault failed as a result of cloning experiments designed to replicate whole humans. Instead, they cloned a bunch of Garys. This is the Gary Vault. Anyone who's heard of the Gary Vault, this is the fucking Gary Vault. This is the most screwed up goddamn vault I've ever seen in my life.
A bunch of clones that just know they're Gary. And they're homicidal.
And they're fucking crazy as shit. But yeah, this was definitely, if not the most fucked up vault, like, so far.
That
So
my skin is crawling just thinking about that vault.
between
I
that
remember
one
the
and the
first
puppet
time.
vault, I'm sorry. Which one's actually? After we get done this list, we're gonna ask you what do you think is the worst vault. So we're gonna actually ask you that at the end, but put it down in the comments. Let me hear. So
This one ranks up there to me. It's number one, and if not number one, it's damn close.
that's right. Yeah, the Gary vault. I mean, it's just no more nightmare fuel.
Hmm.
So let's move on to Vault 111. It's a starter vault for. This is a starter vault for Fallout 4. Everyone knows this vault. This was the vault where they brought down your inhabitants and they cryogenically froze everybody. However, you were the only survivor due to the fact of the break-in by the Institute and what the fuck is his name?
Kellogg.
Kellogg. Yeah, I should Cornflake, whatever.
Yeah, cornflake.
But yeah, and when he steals and kills your spouse, depending who you play. But he pretty much steals your baby, and then you get frozen again for another 20 years before you finally get out to go after him. Well, that's your thing on that, isn't it? It's like 40 or 60 years.
Give or take, yeah.
So this is a really, and this has got some nice lore in it too. If you guys look around, you can see about the uprising between the security and science personnel and the overseer. There's one terminal you can look at where you're looking at the med terminal, and it says how the one person had heart palpitations, and they don't know what, and they almost thawed out. There was a problem with the failsafe. So it's kind of an interesting vault, but yeah, it's also a very screwed up experiment. The fact that you're unaware. They wanted unaware specimens. So you went into that vault thinking that you're getting decontaminated from radiation, and you get frozen like a freaking steak.
Well, not only were they unaware, they were handpicked. They were purposely handpicked for reasons, which again, I'm not gonna. This one, I'll be more careful of spoilers because I know the game's 2 years old, but there's still people that are just picking it up for the first time. So it's worth checking it out because this is your first real step. If you've never played a Fallout before and you're sitting down with Fallout 4, not only is it the first chance you get to see of like the bombs dropping in the Great War and you just narrowly escaping, but you find out firsthand just how fucked up Vault-Tec is. I mean, this was a lot of people give shit to Fallout 4 as like not a true Fallout like the previous Fallouts and stuff of that nature, and to each their own. But in reality, Vault 111 was like your first taste in Fallout 4 just how fucked up this world is and how it started as fucked up before the bombs even dropped.
I mean, I actually really liked that aspect of Fallout 4. It was kind of cool to see the pre-war world and and I kind of experience it through your character, that whole fear of trying to survive. When you hear those sirens go off, could have been done a little bit better. Yeah, I mean the whole thing, the door just swinging open randomly as soon as the siren goes off, that was kind of weird. But
I still question why your baby in the beginning was black, unless you were black. Unless you were black, and I swear to God, on my screen every time I play it, it looks like my baby's black.
Mine wasn't. Mine was always white.
It sounds wrong, but I've always wanted to play the game as an ethnic race, whether it be black or Hispanic, to see later on in the game if that played a part.
It does.
In the surprise, it does it.
It does. The looks you give the male and female, like at the beginning of the game, depending which one you play, it does actually affect.
Is it only on the character you play?
Oh, both.
Okay, so if I had Nora be white and Nate be black, then Sean would be both.
Exactly.
Okay, cool. That was something I always wanted to experiment with, and I never did.
Yeah,
so that's pretty interesting.
Does. So let's move on to this one. Actually, this to me is way up there. This is up there. It's hard for me to decide between the Gary Vault and this vault. And this is Vault 112. This is set up as a personal vault of Dr. Stanislaus Braun, utilizing virtual reality stasis pods.
This one, I kind of ride the fence with, and I'll explain why. The purpose of the vault was to put you in a virtual reality where it was almost like you were living in this perfect existence, and you wouldn't be aware of the horrors of what had happened in the world, and that you're living in a vault. To me, that would be cool, except for the fact that you had a megalomaniac controlling the freaking
Your
virtual
dad was
reality.
a dog.
Yeah.
So that's fucked up. Just think, yeah, you're in this virtual reality world, but they made you a dog, or they made you a freaking. I prayed he would make me a pigeon. I would shit on everybody.
Right.
But anyway,
Yeah, this one, if anybody else was running it, it might have been an all right deal, living in a fantasy world, if you will. But Dr. Strannis Braun, who appeared in the virtual reality simulator as this cute little girl who wanted you to go beat up a dude selling lemonade and make him cry, or go fuck up somebody's marriage, and it's just like, dude was sadistic. Kind of ruins the whole
well,
experiment.
obviously you know he's sadistic just because of how the experiment was going before you even got there.
True.
So let's talk about 114. It's
114,
another Fallout
located in
4.
Boston, Massachusetts, the
This is
Commonwealth.
correct. This was the inhabitants were described as high-ranking local and state government, local luminaries, business people, and their families. However, the luxury living conditions were exaggerated to the inhabitants. Business people. Oh wait. And when they arrived at the vault, random families were chosen to occupy one-room apartments and share minimal dining and bathing facilities. In addition, the overseer was selected from the local public outside the vault, and the interview process favored those with no leadership or governmental experience and a strong anti-authority bias. Vault-Tec staff were asked not to undermine the experiment or the authority of the new overseer, even especially if it may cause physical discomfort, embarrassment, or harm to the inhabitants.
This one ranks up there. This one really ranks up there because you take the world's elite, or the country's elite. You stick them in a vault, and already you create a chaos because the rich and the powerful no longer have lush lifestyles. And then you take a leader who is completely unqualified to be a leader, and you put him in charge, or her in charge, and you let the chaos ensue. This is just some screwed up stuff right here, because you got some angry individuals who are going to the leadership to expecting it to get repaired, and the leadership is anti-authoritative, not qualified to be a leader in any way, shape, or form, is not going to be able to handle this situation. That is begging for riots to ensue.
And actually, for those who are wondering, this is the vault you rescue Valentine from. This vault was actually never finished. This is the one that was weird because it was built. It wasn't built by Vault-Tec. And
No, it wasn't. You're right.
it was built by an outside. They actually hired outside contractors to build this, and they kind of half-assedly built it out of a railroad station.
Mm-hmm. That is true.
So it's kind of an interesting. It's definitely interesting, but unfortunately, that vault was never finished, so we don't have any lore on what could have happened during this experiment. Could I guarantee it wasn't going to be good?
No, it would have been interesting to find some lore on it.
So we only got two left. So let's finish these off. We got Vault 118, which is a Far Harbor expansion vault.
This one,
Yeah, this is intended to test the interaction between two groups: a small ultra wealthy group that would be placed socially and legally above a much larger population that was to be kept in uncomfortable quarters. Instead of a classic Borgias worker experiment, funding ran out when only the ultra wealthy were in the vault. They implanted their brains into robo-brains to outlast the Great War, leaving the overseers as the only human in the vault.
this one's kind of screwed.
This reminds me also of Cheyenne Mountain, or Big Mountain.
Yeah, a little bit of Big Mountain, Oh, those penises on your feet. Little penises. But
What do you mean you lost her brain? You lost her brain.
We removed your spine.
Spine and brain.
Spine and brain, yeah. Fucking this one's kind of fucked up. But the fun thing about this one, there wasn't a whole hell of a lot of lore in it, because you had a quest to do in this one, and that was figure out who murdered one of the Robo Brains. It literally becomes a detective story. But the whole entire setup of it to be the only human around a bunch of people who are meant to outlast everything because they are now robots with human brains is just completely fucked up. And if they would have been able to get the poor and the socially awkward or whatever uncomfortables in there as well, that would have been an interesting experiment. Again, one of the ones that failed because of time.
I mean, this is actually the one thing I will say. When you do Far Harbor, if you haven't played Far Harbor yet, I highly recommend that you bring Valentine with you. If nothing else for this quest, but Valentine comes in very useful in Far Harbor.
He comes in handy in this quest, but a fun one to bring along who has unique dialogue to it is Codsworth.
Really?
Oh yeah.
Oh, I'm sure actually. And then last one, it has no number. This is from Fallout 2. This is an unfinished vault that is located in a cave between 13 and 15. Nothing else is really known about this one. Be interested
Sorry, go ahead.
It'd be interesting if something pops up about it later.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Is unfortunately, it's just a little spot on the map. There's no lore or anything, so there's no real story to the unfinished vault yet. I hope somebody does do another Fallout within California, specifically to discover the unfinished vault and maybe some lore, because that was truly missing in that one.
I mean, it'd be kind of nice to see, what happens. I'm hoping there's another game. I really am. I want to see another Fallout game really badly. I love the Fallout series. I've played everything. I played 1, 2, Tactics, 3, and 4, and New Vegas, every DLC. That's a game I do not mind. Like, if it comes out tomorrow, I will drop. I think I had Fallout 4 purchased, I think 2 months before the game actually came out. On Steam, I think I already had it paid for.
Well, no, you're absolutely right. It's funny when I got into video game role playing games, I was heavily into like Final Fantasy, Dragon Warrior, stuff of that nature, and I was not interested in the Elder Scrolls. When Morrowind came out, I really wasn't a fan of it. I didn't like Morrowind. But one day, and boredom and just a little bit of money made me buy Oblivion. And I absolutely fell in love with Oblivion. I thought it was way better crafted than Morrowind ever was. The reason I'm telling you that story, I know we're talking about Fallout here, is after I completed Oblivion was when a friend of mine had told me about Fallout. He's like, well, if you like Oblivion, try this. It's basically Oblivion with guns. I'm like, at the time, I wasn't really into first-person shooters. I'm like, I'm not interested in a Call of Duty. He's like, no. It's literally Oblivion with guns. Try it. You'll love it. And one day I found a copy of Fallout 3 for like $8. Picked it up, popped it in, and from that point on, I've been absolutely hooked on the series. I went back and played Fallout 1 and 2, although I have never beaten Fallout 1. I get too wrapped into it. Wrapped into it. I always run out of time to save the vault because I'm too busy exploring everything.
Well, you explore after you save the vault.
Nah. Where's the fun in that? But
one of the biggest lessons I learned in Fallout 3, I will say this, is when you're going to go do the Mothership Zeta quest, make sure you don't have a companion with you because your companion dies.
Really?
Yeah, I learned that the hard way.
Well, I usually do the Mothership Zeta pretty relatively early. And I do it relatively early because I want all the alien disintegrators and shit like that, because that makes the game so much easier throughout the rest of the game. I got one of the most powerful guns in the game already off the bat.
Yeah. All right, so we're going to have to actually cut this off because we've been going... This is actually going to be one of the longest episodes in a while, but that's okay. So, That's all we have time for today, and I hope everyone enjoyed this. I'm gonna be doing more videos on the Fallout series because I love the Fallout series. I might even have this guy over here pop up once in a while too,
Like a bobblehead.
like a bobblehead. I don't know what bobblehead. What bobblehead would he be? What bobblehead would I be? Comment.
Hold on.
Oh God, damn it! I don't know what I did there, guys, but he just vanished. But anyway, so remember our announcements earlier on Sunday or Saturday, 8 p.m. Eastern on Facebook. My page, Christina Talley, which is at that trans geek girl. We will. That's awesome. We'll be going live for a Q&A and also some very big announcements, including this show, including my radio show, and some other stuff in the wind. So check that out. Chris, tell them where they can find you.
You can find me on Realm of the Mist Entertainment, or probably standing on some desk somewhere as a bobblehead because, hey, gotta love Fallout.
That's right. So until next time, y'all have a good one. I had to let him get that out first. All right. Peace out.
かりしてる最中誰にも心触らせたくなくてほっぺつり上げて笑顔とに作ろうために何をしようかのプランで愛を歌う並べただけの単語に意味なんかないのさそれでいいのさこの気持ちに気づいてしまう前にケンケンパンヒョウヒョウと行け曲げそうな